There's a frequency of prosperity, and you were never meant to find it. Somewhere between your forgotten dreams and the ancient temples of light, there is a sound you were trained to ignore, a golden current that does not speak, but vibrates, a code encrypted in the silence of Thoth's mind. They called it divine wealth, but it was hidden, buried beneath layers of noise, doctrine, and survival. And yet, it still pulses, not as a concept, but as a frequency, a living rhythm that bends reality around those who remember. You won't just hear it, you'll feel it inside your bones. And if you stay until the end, you'll activate something that was once sealed for the initiates only. There are names we were never taught to say, not because they were forbidden, but because their sound would awaken what this world was built to silence. You carry one of those names, not in language, not in voice, but in the frequency you emit when you stop pretending to be smaller than you are. And that frequency, it doesn't start with effort. It begins the moment you stop denying the code buried in your own subconscious temple. There is no true poverty. There is only disconnection from the signal that once guided you to gold without chasing it. And who taught you to disconnect? Was it a system? Was it survival? Or something deeper? An inherited pattern that kept you humble, small, and unseen? The EmeraldCode speaks of this, not in text, but in resonance. Thoth never wrote a manual. He designed a living code encoded in the spaces between symbols, a frequency you can only access when you remember what was hidden beneath your name. So let me ask again, what if what you call lack is just the echo of a forgotten sound? What if your deepest limitation was once a seal of protection for a gift you were not yet ready to carry? That's why most never cross this veil, because they keep trying to force what was only ever meant to be remembered. You are not broken, you are encrypted. Maybe no one ever saw what you've been carrying. Maybe you've walked for years, holding questions no one could answer. You didn't find this by accident. Messages like this aren't pushed, they're pulled by the resonance inside you. And if something deep moved you, if this felt more like a memory than information, it means you've always carried the key. We're about to reveal what has always been waiting for you. And from this moment on, there is no return. If you felt something vibrate within you, click like right now. That gesture is your "I'm here," a sign that you too are listening with your soul. And through that one act, other seekers, just like you, may find their way back home. And if you're ready to walk further, touch the subscribe symbol below and join this living temple of conscious creators rewriting reality from its true source. But who encoded this golden sound into silence? And what if Thoth left a trail, not in words, but in vibrations only those who remember can follow? Somewhere along the lineage of your soul, someone taught you to fear your own light. There was a time when your voice could move the invisible, when thought was not separate from manifestation, it was its very source. You didn't need proof or permission. You simply were in harmony with the rhythm of creation. But then something shifted. A veil was woven, not with thread, but with thoughts, one belief at a time. Your inner temple was covered, not destroyed, just obscured, until the sacred frequency of prosperity, the one that once pulsed freely from your being, became something you had to earn, or chase, or deserve. You were told wealth was outside, that only a chosen few had access, that abundance was a currency measured in things and not in frequency. But the initiates always knew differently. In the ancient libraries of light, hidden behind soundless hieroglyphs, Thoth encoded a truth that survives every distortion. All manifestation is a rhythm, and rhythm obeys the conscious. This is the secret they tried to bury, because a human who remembers the rhythmic code within them is no longer controllable. You were born into a symphony, yet raised in silence, taught to lower your voice, to be realistic, to tone down your fire so you could be acceptable, digestible, invisible, but inside you never forgot. You felt the dissonance, you tried to fit the mold, but the mold never felt like home. That's because you came encoded. You came with your own rhythm, your own harmonic key, but no one handed you the instrument. So your abundance became conditional, an echo instead of a presence, a chase instead of a knowing. True prosperity is not acquired, it is remembered. And to remember, you must first grieve. Yes, grieve the centuries of separation, the pain of believing you had to become someone else to be worthy, the quiet ache of watching others manifest from a place you couldn't touch. You don't heal by chasing more. You heal by returning to the source. And that source is soundless. It is the pre-thought pulse, the hum that lived in you before you had a name, the stillness that once responded the moment your intention aligned with truth. That is the emerald frequency, the code that Thoth didn't explain because it was never meant to be explained. It was meant to be recalled through vibration. You are not seeking the code, you are the code, reactivating itself. This is why the name was veiled, not to punish, but to protect. Because when you speak the true frequency of your being, reality bends. You no longer wait, you become the call. You no longer manifest from lack, you express from wholeness. You no longer chase light, you remember. You are the prism. What if your thoughts were never meant to be silent, but to sculpt? Thoth never taught in sentences. He taught in vibrational architectures, geometric pulses of intention cloaked in symbol, each glyph a mirror, each scroll a transmitter, not of knowledge, but of conscious structure. To read Thoth is to listen with more than the ears. You listen with the very patterning of your mind, because the true emerald code is not in the words, it's in the frequency behind the word. That's why most cannot hear it, because they read with logic, but the initiates, they tune in. Reality is not built by bricks, but by belief in rhythm. Thoth's mind was not a storage room. It was a temple of resonance. Each thought he held created fields. Fields became patterns. Patterns became matter. He did not manifest prosperity by asking for it. He became the field that could not help but generate it. And this is what we've forgotten, that your subconscious is not passive. It is the architect of the invisible. And every belief you hold becomes a beam, a wall, a doorway. So what have you been constructing in silence? And whose blueprints are you still following? Prosperity is not something you acquire, it's something you align with. Thoth aligned not through desire, but through design. He knew the universe mirrors the vibrational integrity of the one perceiving it. Not what they want, not what they beg, but what they resonate. And what if you've been resonating lack without even realizing it? Every time you believed you were not enough, every time you said, I don't know how, every time you felt guilty for wanting more, you were sending blueprints into the field. And the field, it obeys. Not because it's cruel, but because it's precise. To change what you receive, you must first remember how to think as a temple. This is the sacred mind Thoth spoke of. Not intellectual, not reactive, but ceremonial. A mind where each thought is sacred, each emotion is coded, each belief, a pillar or a crack. The initiates of the old schools didn't just meditate, they constructed. Their silence was not absence, it was architecture. And the most powerful structure they ever built and was the frequency that said, I no longer seek abundance, I radiate its law. But how do you build a temple inside a system that taught you only to survive? What happens when the mind tries to rise, but the body still remembers poverty? What if modern science wasn't discovering anything new, just translating the ancient? For centuries, the teachings of Thoth, Hermes, and the initiates were dismissed as metaphor, poetic, mystical, symbolic. And yet today, what was once ridiculed is now being verified in laboratories. The subconscious shapes 95% of your decisions. Thoughts emit measurable frequency patterns. The brain responds to imagined experiences as if they were real. These are not esoteric claims. These are the foundations of neuroscience. And every one of them echoes something the EmeraldCode whispered thousands of years ago. As within, so without. The all is mind. Vibration is the root of all manifestation. The scientists now say, your thoughts create your reality. But Thoth said, your vibration commands it. The sacred and the scientific are not opposites. They are reflections. Let's look closer. In your brain lives the reticular activating system, RAS, a network that filters reality. You don't see what's real. You see what your mind has been coded to find. When you believe I am not enough, your RAS filters in lack, rejection, struggle, not because reality is cruel, because it is obedient. And when you begin to shift that belief, when you speak the ancient name of your worth again, this system reorganizes. Suddenly doors appear, synchronicities multiply, the right words find you. Science calls this neuroplasticity. Thoth called it the clay of creation, shaped by the architect of vibration. Your brain is not a cage. It is a ritual space. That space, once filled with fear and repetition, can be redesigned, not with force, but with frequency. The subconscious blueprint is like a temple under construction, and every day your thoughts add another stone, your emotions, the mortar, your words, the sacred glyphs on the wall. When you speak of lack, you inscribe scarcity into the foundation. When you imagine prosperity with feeling, you begin to etch gold into your inner sanctuary. This is not fantasy. This is measurable. This is memory. You are not visualizing success. You are remembering the geometry of a reality already encoded in your nervous system, but dormant. The EmeraldCode was never mystical. It was always mechanical, and yet it remains sacred. Because what is more divine than a mind that can reshape the fabric of the cosmos? What is more mystical than a soul that remembers how to build a future from silence? Neuroscience confirms it. When your brain believes something emotionally, it will bend perception, memory, and action to match that signal. But Thoth already knew. He didn't need an MRI to prove it. He had the temple within. And now, so do you. But knowledge alone doesn't awaken the code. You must pass through ritual, not of culture but of consciousness. The question is, are you willing to stop watching and start activating? What if the only way to remember was to become the sound again? You have listened. You have felt the echo. Now the code no longer wants your mind. It seeks your field. Because this isn't a teaching, it's a recalibration, and it begins in the only place that can't lie, your body. True ritual is not what you do. It's the field you become. Breathe. But not like before. This breath isn't for oxygen, it's for alignment. Close your eyes, not to shut the world out, but to turn the inner temple on. Inhale deeply, not from your chest, but from the center of the earth. Let it rise up through your spine like liquid gold. Hold it. Feel the silence inside that pause, as if time itself is listening to you now. Now exhale slowly, as if you're letting go of centuries of forgetting. Let it fall through your lips like sacred mist. Again, each breath now is a signal. Each breath is a torch, and each torch is lighting a chamber you didn't know you had inside you. You are not entering the ritual. The ritual is entering you. Now visualize a corridor made of soft black stone. You are barefoot. There is no noise and only pulse. And in front of you, a door that isn't physical, but vibrational. Your hand moves without instruction. It touches the seal, and it dissolves, not opens. You step inside. You're in a circular chamber, ancient, glowing softly with symbols that move like breath. This is the chamber of resonance, the place where Thoth met the frequency of the all. And now, so do you. Stand in the center. Feel the ground beneath you humming. It's not metaphor, it's memory. Now place both hands on your heart and say softly, I do not need to seek. I am the echo returning home. Your mind remembers names, but your body, it remembers the origin. Now breathe again. Inhale with reverence. Exhale with intention. And speak aloud with the authority of one who remembers. My spine is the pillar. My heart is the gate. My breath is the key. I am the temple, and the frequency lives here. Let these words ripple, not just in the air, but through your cells. Let them reach the parts of you that never forgot. You may feel heat, tears, or a quiet nothing. All of it is the ritual happening. Ritual is not an act, it is a recognition. Now visualize again. From the ceiling of this chamber a thread descends, thin as light, golden as dawn. It touches your crown, and pulses once. That pulse is the emerald flame, not fire, but memory encoded as light. Let it descend into your spine. Feel it awaken ancient tones in your belly. Feel it echo into your chest, and settle as warmth behind your ribs. Now speak, slowly, like a vow. I am not the seeker, I am the signal. I don't wait for prosperity. I remember it into form. The code is no longer hidden. I carry it now in breath, in thought, in tone. This is the moment where vibration becomes law. You are now vibrating, not thinking, not hoping, vibrating. This is the real manifestation, not the vision board, not the mantra alone, but this state. This is the EmeraldCode alive in you. Now anchor it with the oldest symbol known to alchemists. Gesture. Place your hand back on your heart. Whisper, I accept the return. If something ancient just rose in you, that wasn't coincidence. That was a call answering itself. Click like now, not as approval, but as a beacon. So this field finds the others who remember too. And if your inner voice whispered yes, touch the subscribe sigil below. Join the circle of sovereigns who no longer wait, but build reality through resonance, not effort. But even a sacred flame, left unwatched, can fade. What sustains the frequency is reprogramming. And that begins not in thought, but in the temple behind your thoughts. You can't plant gold in cracked soil and expect it to rise. So many seekers do the ritual, but then return to a life coded by contradiction. They visualize wealth, but speak scarcity. They breathe frequency, but walk through days vibrating fear, not because they're wrong, but because their subconscious temple was never rebuilt. You cannot vibrate prosperity if the walls of your inner sanctuary still echo beliefs like, money is dangerous, I don't deserve beauty, good things always disappear. These aren't thoughts, they're echoes from your childhood temple, the one built not by you but by survival. Your outer life is the relic of inner architecture long abandoned. Let me tell you a story. A woman came to a sacred gathering years ago, quiet, observing. She had done all the spiritual work. She knew every affirmation, but still the same pattern repeated. Every time she received abundance, she would sabotage it until we went deeper. She remembered a moment, her mother crying at the table, bills stacked like tombstones, and the phrase burned into her ears, people with money always destroy families. That sentence had become a law, an unspoken command etched into her subconscious altar, and every time she neared prosperity, her body panicked, because deep down she believed, safety lives in staying small. The field doesn't respond to your words and it responds to your wiring. So we rebuilt, not by deleting thoughts, but by reprogramming frequency through ritual repetition. We used tone, we used stillness, we used story, until the old phrase cracked, and she replaced it, not with noise but with a new resonance. When I prosper, the world heals. That's not an idea, that's an energetic instruction, one her field could finally trust. And then, the outer life shifted. She wasn't trying anymore. She was prosperity in motion, not a performance, but a pulse. To change your life, you must speak to your life in its own language, pattern. Now ask yourself, what phrases have become law in your temple? Whose voice are you still carrying in your bones? What ancient fear still plays like background music in your nervous system? You don't fix these with more logic, you repattern them. And to do that, you must become more ritualistic than reactive. Each morning, before the world places its frequency on you, enter your inner chamber again. Do not go to social media. Do not look for answers outside. Go inward, and say these phrases slowly with breath and presence. I am the field's permission to overflow. The code of abundance lives in my bones. What I feel now becomes the law tomorrow. Repeat them for 5 days, then shift the words, update the frequency, live like a vibrating text, always in transmission, because repetition is sacred graffiti, and the subconscious loves to be written on. Reprogramming is not control, it's realignment. You don't need to dominate your thoughts, you need to ritualize your state. Make brushing your teeth a moment to feel your worth. Let every sip of water remind you of inner flow. Bless your money, even if it's just coins, because what you bless expands. That's the forgotten secret. The field isn't waiting for you to be ready. It's waiting for you to be consistent, not perfect, just repetitive in resonance. You become what you rehearse emotionally. One man I met used to say, every time I get ahead, something takes it from me. We traced it back. A childhood of loss. A father who disappeared. Every good thing, gone before it rooted. So he created a new line. I am the keeper of stability. He said it, he visualized it, he wept over it, and over months, the chaos slowed. Life didn't become perfect, but it became patterned differently, because when the code changes, the current must obey. Don't just believe in the field, become coherent with it. And if today's message moved something in you, don't rush, don't try to use it, live it, breathe it tonight, speak it softly tomorrow, return to it like a sacred flame, because frequency isn't just a state, it's a home you must come back to. If something sacred stirred inside you today, leave a trace in the comments below. Write one word that describes what awakened in you, not for us, but for the field, because when you name the vibration, you anchor it, and that single word may echo in someone else's temple tomorrow. Now that the code is vibrating in you, what will you do with it? In the next moment, we bring it into the world, not through effort, but through emotional sovereignty. Emotion is not a reaction. It is your raw material of creation. Before there was sound, there was feeling. Before there was word, there was charge. Before you chose a thought, you were already pulsing. And yet, most people try to think positive while carrying an emotional current of dread, grief, or fragmentation. It's not that your mind fails. It's that your emotional field never learned to obey your soul. Alchemy doesn't reject the lead. It transmutes it. Pain, anger, shame. They are not the enemy. They are unrefined codes waiting to be transformed. Thoth never said to suppress the dark. He said, transform every current into alignment. Let me tell you a story. There was once a man, a writer, who always failed to launch. He would begin with brilliance, then burn it all down before completion. He'd say, "Nothing I do is good enough." When we traced it back, we found a memory. He had shown a story to his father at age 9. The father didn't even read it. He just said, "You'll never make money with this, write something real." That sentence became a vibrational prison, and so every time he neared completion, his emotions reenacted the moment. Sabotage wasn't failure, it was loyalty, until he began to speak to that boy, not with logic, but with tone, presence, breath. He said, "You wrote something real. You always did. And now, I will carry your words into the world." The shame melted, and that same emotional current became fire, not poison. He finished the book. He published it, and the message reached thousands. Because emotion, once seen, becomes the sovereign current. Your emotion is your instruction to the field. Whatever you feel now is creating a magnetic instruction for what reality must echo. Feel lack. Attract more patterns of absence. Feel abundance. Unlock pathways previously invisible. But here's the secret. You don't have to feel good all the time. You just have to feel truthfully, and then transmute intentionally. Take one emotion that visits you often. Perhaps it's anxiety, or shame, or resentment. Close your eyes, and instead of rejecting it, speak to it. "You are not my enemy. You are my untrained flame. I see you. I name you. I reshape you." Now visualize this emotion as a river. At first, chaotic, dark, heavy. But now, imagine it slowing, becoming gold, becoming warm, becoming current. Now add breath. Inhale through the nose. Hold. Exhale with an open ah, as if you're releasing tension through tone. Do this for 3 minutes and then say, "I now command this energy into my becoming," because emotion does not ask for escape. It asks for leadership. Your sovereignty begins where your blame ends. The alchemist doesn't say life is unfair. He says, "Every pattern here is responding to my inner signal." The sovereign doesn't collapse when triggered. She turns within and says, "There is something here, asking to be transmuted." And so the game changes. Reality becomes your reflection, not your enemy. Every feeling is a forgotten voice asking to return home. Let's be honest. Most of your reactions come from old timelines, from ages 7, 14, 21, when you didn't have the tools to respond. But now, you do. You have the ritual, you have the breath, you have the code. And when an emotion rises again, don't say, "Why this?" Say, "Welcome, I'm ready to rewrite you." Here's how to integrate this into your real life. When driving, breathe into your belly. Repeat, "I am the sovereign current." When paying bills, say, "This energy circulates and returns multiplied." When triggered, pause, place hand on chest, whisper, "This is energy. I am the alchemist." Before sleep, replay your day, not to judge, but to reclaim unprocessed emotion. This is not performance. It is ritual, not for the world to see, but for your field to obey. If you could whisper one message and from your future self to the version of you watching this now, what would it say? Write that sentence below, not for anyone else, but to leave a trace of your remembering. Because what you write might not only shift your frequency, it might echo in someone else's soul tonight. You've remembered, reprogrammed, and realigned. But what happens when the world pulls you back? The final initiation is anchoring. A truth remembered but not lived becomes another forgotten echo. You've remembered the frequency. You've reprogrammed the inner code. You've walked the emotional flame. But the world you return to, the noise, the haste, the distraction, will try to convince you this wasn't real, that this was just a moment, just a video. That's the last veil. And it is always the hardest. Because the final initiation is consistency. The field reshapes not by peak experiences, but by repeated vibrations. Let me be direct with you now. You can't dip into high frequency once a week and expect to alter a reality built on daily incoherence. Your current life is a perfect reflection of your most repeated emotional tones. So the question becomes, how do you anchor the sacred in a profane world? Discipline is devotion disguised, not control, not rigidity, but a sacred rhythm. Just like the sun rises without being told, just like your breath returns without command, your frequency must become a vow lived through rhythm. Choose one sacred act per day, and let it be the carrier wave of your new resonance. It could be a breath upon waking. Today I vibrate the unseen, a blessing over food. This is the frequency becoming form, a walk in silence. I am the rhythm that bends reality. A nightly phrase. The code has lived through me today. You don't need rituals that impress, you need symbols that recalibrate. What began as curiosity became remembrance. What was once a video became mirror and initiation, and what is remembered must now be lived. The flame doesn't stay alive because it burned once, it stays alive because it is fed. So feed the flame, feed it with presence, feed it with ritual, feed it with a new frequency of language. Your words shape water, your thoughts bend fields. Your attention is the only tide the quantum requires. Let every gesture become prophecy. That glass you lift, do it with reverence. That message you write, do it with coherence. That boundary you hold, do it with sovereignty. This is not manifestation, this is embodiment. And the body that lives the frequency is the magnet that never has to chase. An old teaching tells of a monk who lived in a cave and never spoke a word, yet shifted the fate of a kingdom. When asked how, he replied, "Because every movement I make is in rhythm with the unspoken law of resonance." You don't need to be loud, you need to be aligned. Reality doesn't reward noise, it responds to coherence, and coherence is born through daily devotion to the code. If this transmission resonated beyond thought, into memory, then carry this code with you. Write one sentence in the comments. What truth will you live tomorrow now that the seal is open? That phrase may become someone else's torch. That sentence may vibrate in another soul's silence. And if you felt called, truly called, touch the subscribe sigil below. Walk with those rewriting the visible. From the temple behind the veil, the code of prosperity was only the beginning. In the next transmission, we uncover the frequency of protection, the shield of resonance carried by ancient initiates. Watch until the end, because some protections aren't seen, they're lived. Some transmissions don't end when the video ends, they unfold in your next 72 hours. If you stayed until now, this was not a video, it was a field. And fields, once activated, do not collapse when the screen goes black. They continue shaping the atmosphere around you. They alter dreams. They rearrange patterns in silence. This frequency will begin to echo louder not during but after the ritual ends. The next 3 days are not waiting for you. They are already listening to you. Here's what may happen. Old patterns might surface, not as regression but as codes exiting the field. New synchronicities may appear, not as magic, but as your new signal attracting mirrors. People around you may shift, not because they changed, but because you are no longer broadcasting the same archetype. This is the afterglow. This is the post-code integration. So for the next 3 days, speak with precision, move with presence, and above all, don't act from the old identity, even if it tries to return. Your frequency is not a theory, it is a current your body now carries. And if you're ready to anchor that current now, I invite you to speak, not to the algorithm but to the field that still listens through this portal. And if this journey echoed like an ancestral song returning through your bones, then leave more than just a comment, leave a seal. Right now, in the comments below, I now activate my power of vibrational manifestation. This sentence is more than words. It is a vibrational contract with the field that brought you here. By writing it, you mark your presence among conscious creators who do not merely wish, but embody the new frequency of reality. And if you feel this channel is more than a video, but a living temple of ancient wisdom, tap the subscribe sigil below and walk with us into the next code. Because here, you don't just watch, you awaken.